Hello, Canada. Good day. Good afternoon, Asia. Uh, Welcome to our new webinar. This time, I would like to give you updates on provincial and federal programs. Just one second. I would like to share with you the ideas, thoughts of provincial programs, of updates on what is going on with immigration and what to expect. So during the presentation, I will be showing slides. We will talk about immigration statistics for the recent year. We'll talk about immigration opportunities in 2016, upcoming up changes in express entry system and immigration programs. Now, first and foremost, 2016. It's quite a controversial year simply because at the one hand we had the record number of immigrants and at the same time the record low number of those accepted under the most popular federal skilled worker stream. So when we're talking about this record number of immigrants, I would probably ask a question where it comes from. This year, Canada accepted almost 321,000 of new immigrants. The previous record was in 2010 when we took about 270,000. Uh, the overall population of Canada has just reached 36 million people. Therefore, while the number of immigrants accepted annually is pretty much nearing 1% of population, which is indeed very, very high rate. Now, at the same time, we again have to understand that these numbers, they do not necessarily stem from the express entry system in 2016. They do not necessarily come from the skilled worker immigrants. Pretty much when we're talking about 2016, we will be talking about refugees, about 25,000 of them, plus we are talking about the previous years of immigrants who had their applications lodged in 2012, 13, 14, etc. Now, speaking about express entry, why the pass mark is still high, first and foremost, of course, the old applications backlog is still in processing, and this backlog is pretty much responsible for the major share of the newcomers currently accepted. Express entry pass mark is high not because we're not accepting new immigrants or Canada does not want those people, or there are thousands and thousands of those who have pass mark over 450. No, in fact not. There is a very limited number of applications taken simply because there is a backlog of those who were taken in 2012, 13, and 14, right? So they got a priority in processing right now simply because we have to somehow close their cases. As soon as the pre-express entry backlog is sorted out, the express entry system would carry the burden of supplying almost all of the newcomers to Canada under the immigration plan. These, well, inevitably, it will lead to the cutoff score decrease, and we will discuss it later on during this presentation today. Now, moreover, we have to understand that CAC officials has also confirmed that the express entry cutoff score would be lowered in the upcoming months during official events for immigration representatives. So whenever you hear rumors that express entry score would go down, these rumors, they do have a basis, not necessarily it's a factual basis. No one would be able to predict you when exactly that would happen and when exactly on which date that express entry score would be lowered, right? But still it will happen. Now, there are also other factors which contribute to the express entry cutoff score decrease. We will talk about them in a few minutes. Now, for the provinces and programs which were the most active in 2016, of course, New Brunswick. That's dozens of information sessions in various countries, pretty much from Eastern Europe to Asia. New Brunswick province was extremely active, surprisingly active, I would say, and lots and lots of you knew about those sessions, and I got lots of those who participated in those sessions. So congratulations to you if you managed to do that. Manitoba as a province. Manitoba, this province was inviting candidates for the exploratory visits and also selected candidates through its own expression of interest system. Even though quota for Manitoba is quite low, it's about 5,000-6,000 people per year, sorry, 5,000-6,000 of applications per year which they are taking, still the province was pretty active, and they also have upcoming sessions we'll be talking about. Prince Edward Island this year also launched its expression of interest system and successfully accepted the number of candidates. Province of Saskatchewan, well, they pretty much opened their intake several times over the recent months. So if you're following it closely, you probably know that Saskatchewan was quite active in 2016 as well. It's just, again, to give you heads up, we will talk about those which are open right now and which are accepting applicants right now at this moment in a few minutes. Now, immigration numbers, okay? Many of those who applied under the federal skilled worker before the express entry system was put in place received PR this year. And as I said, the backlog has been pretty aggressively worked on. This is exactly what you see when you see those high numbers or high scores in express entry system. The backlog is being cleared out. Applied through express entry system received their permanent residency mostly under the federal skilled worker or provincial nominee programs, those participants of overseas informational sessions who received an invitation to apply under provincial programs. Statistically, about 44% of invitations to apply, those who received invitations to apply, had offers of employment. It does not mean that these are the applicants from abroad. Pretty much that's people from other countries who are right now in Canada. Usually I would say students who have graduated and somehow secured themselves the permanent job offer. That's the foreign workers who are already in Canada simply because they're, say, for example, their spouses are studying in Canada and they are allowed to work and they was able to secure themselves this permanent job offer. These were about 44% of all invitations to apply received this year. About 20% were nominated by provinces. So about 20% of those who were passing under express entry this year, and when we're speaking this year, I just want to clarify it. These are the numbers from June to June, okay? So from June 2015 to June 2016, simply because 2016 is not over yet and we do not have these comprehensive statistics. About 35% receive their invitations to apply solely based on their human capital. We'll talk about human capital later, but pretty much when somebody speaks about it, it means based on the language abilities, on age, on work experience, and on education. Is with my express entry score? Of course, that's one of the most common questions we receive, and that's of course the one I would like to address today. Vast majority of express entry applicants have score range from 380 to 430 points. That's statistically based. At the same time, the cutoff score was twice as low as 450 points. So that was there were two times in 2015, the cutoff was 450, and that was the lowest cutoff. Taking into the account the expected drop of the cutoff score, um, candidates who have, I would say, probably anywhere between 390 to 410 score should have good chances to receive invitations to apply to immigrate to Canada. Besides that, of course, you probably know that provinces also pick their candidates from express entry pool. For example, in 2016, the province of Ontario invited candidates with 400 plus points to apply under the Ontario Provincial Nominee Program. Oftentimes, there are possibilities to improve rating in the express entry system, to retake your IELTS test, to have the spouse to take the IELTS test, to perform educational credentials assessment with other organizations. We spoke about it on our YouTube channel 1,000 of times already. It's also a good idea for a candidate to maintain his or her Express Entry profile active, since provinces require this in order to apply under a provincial nominee program and even sometimes to participate in informational sessions. So it's not always possible to participate in sessions if you do not have active Express Entry profile. We spoke about it 1,000 times before, so just keep it in mind. Do not wait for the score to go down. Just make sure that you got this profile right now. It's free. Sessions which are still open and which you still have a chance to go to in 2016. Destination Canada 2016. This exhibition would take place in Paris and in Brussels. And this is pretty much an annual event which is held in October to November. This year would be November, and immigration authorities of one or more Canadian provinces usually participate in this event. Destination Canada is employer-driven event, which means that it's set up for employers and for those who are looking at job offer in Canada. However, provincial officers usually come to Destination Canada as well. I put a link on the slide. Either retype it or just Google for Destination Canada 2016. There is a chance and there are 100% still options to participate in this session, provided that you're able to travel either to Paris or to Brussels. No, you do not necessarily have to speak French. There are lots of employers who are hiring, say, to British Columbia, to Ontario, without the necessity of having those excellent French skills. So yes, you could participate in these sessions if you do not speak French as well. What you could get on this session is an opportunity to receive an invitation to apply under provincial nominee program. You could also receive a job offer from one of the Canadian employers. Lots and lots of opportunities here. I just listed a few so that you would understand what's going on. So there are software developers, there are positions for technical specialists, cooks, restaurant workers, for mechanics, for accommodation specialists, etc. So the range is huge, right? And opportunity is right in there. Make sure that you register in advance. My personal advice, because we did it for our clients and I just know how it works, make sure that you request for participation several times. So just do not rely on the fact that you have just sent them a request and afterwards you will be waiting. Make sure that you send it 10, 20, 30 times if necessary. Prepare your professional resume. Of course, like resume builder online, make sure that it structures your resume in a nice way. Remove your picture of there. Look, nobody cares about your religion, about your phone number at this moment, of course. Nobody cares what was your name of your father or mother. Okay, just remove that junk from the resume. Make it employer focused, and all the best to you. IELTS is usually mandatory. It's typically asked whenever you're filling up the form for participation in Destination Canada, and I would strongly advise to have it in advance. Now, apart from Destination Canada, we also have sessions of New Brunswick. Well, those guys were active, as I said, this year, and sessions are still not over. So New Brunswick, they had event in UK, in London a couple days ago. They had event in Ukraine in Kiev yesterday and the day before. Now they also have events in Moldova. They also have events in Romania, and there are still options to participate. So for New Brunswick, it's still registration is still open. It's not usually difficult to get yourself and secure yourself a visa to Romania or to Moldova, simply because these countries do not have strict visa requirements, and usually, yes, it's available for pretty much everyone. So if you were looking to participate in the session, it's still open. There are lots of occupations in there. There are IT companies. There are companies hiring semi-skilled workers or low-skilled workers, such as fish processing workers. There would be cooks, there are restaurant workers, truck drivers, and it is also an employer-driven and occupation-focused event. So make sure that if you got a chance to participate, if you just able to travel, it would be the last days of October, like 20th, 26th of October. Just register. The link for registration is right on this slide. Moving on, Manitoba. Manitoba still have a couple of sessions for 2016. So this time they got sessions in Austria, and surprisingly, they got a session in Manila in Philippines. Now, Philippines, just to give you a heads up, it's quite popular. Lots and lots of places are already taken. So if I were you, I will probably find the same occupation you're looking for in Vienna and would try to register there instead of Philippines. I mean, obviously, if your position is not taken, you're absolutely welcome to participate in Philippines because probably it might be closer to you. Now, the list of occupations traditionally for these sessions for Manitoba, it was truck drivers, it was focused on livestock workers. This time they got floor covering installers, they got bricklayers, they got welders, they got hotel workers, managers in transportation, they got front desk managers for the hotels. And yes, it's definitely a golden opportunity to secure yourself a position. Now, apart from employers from Manitoba, there would be immigration officers. Again, speak to them, discuss with them how you love Manitoba, how you love their freezing temperatures in winter, and make sure that you got an invitation to apply from Manitoba as well. And now going forward, what to expect. What to expect in the future, I do not necessarily want to say that it's going to happen in 2016, probably either end of 2016 or beginning of 2017, but still, uh, sessions of several provinces. Saskatchewan usually at the end of every year has a stream for those with a low IELTS score, so either IELTS 5 or sometimes they even take applicants with no IELTS at all. So keep an eye on them. It's quite a limited number of applications that are taken, but usually it's a golden chance for those who are looking to apply and somehow you're struggling, you're not able to take your IELTS properly. Well, Saskatchewan usually has this stream either at the end of the year or at the beginning of each calendar year. Nova Scotia, well, this provincial program of Nova Scotia has been closed for quite some time, but for those looking to reapply, it might be a good chance simply because Nova Scotia traditionally, when they open their doors, they got a list of occupations, like 29, 30 of them, and typically this list of occupations covers the most popular ones, such as IT officers, managers in transportation, managers in manufacturing, marketing managers, etc., etc. So keep an eye on Nova Scotia. There are rumors, and these rumors, well, probably they have a good basis that this program would be open quite soon. Ontario Provincial Nominee Program. It would be wrong to say that this program is closed right now. It is not. It is open. However, it's open mostly for Francophones. The one which most of us are looking for is Ontario PNP, the program which has been selecting applicants with 400 plus score this year. And Ontario Provincial Nominee Program will reopen. Most likely would happen in November or December, alternatively at the beginning of 2017. For those looking to participate, that's a golden chance. You do not usually have to do anything. Just make sure that in your Express Entry profile, you got 400 plus score and you just put a check mark against all of the provinces, not just one which you're looking for. So make sure that Ontario is in the list of provinces you're looking to immigrate to in your Express Entry profile. Otherwise, you might not be selected. Now, what to expect from Express Entry in 2017. These are the news which were discussed several times. These are the matters which were discussed several times. And let us just go through several of those so that you would be able to understand what is going on and what is expected in 2017. So candidates would receive extra points for siblings in Canada. So if you got brothers or sisters, living in permanent residency or citizenship status in Canada, you might receive additional points for them in your express entry system. Extra points will be awarded to candidates graduated from Canadian post-secondary institutions. The higher the level of education is, the more extra points to be awarded. This is, of course, due to the fact that students are our future. Everybody understands that Canada is eager to attract skilled applicants, and students are, of course, one of them. Now, points for job offer. Okay. Right now, about 66% of candidates with job offers in Canada have no more than 300 express entry points for their human capital factor, which means that without this job offer, these people would be placed in the lower 7% of all the express entry applicants. To put it simple, what it means that if a person somehow secured himself or herself a job offer in Canada, he or she would probably, with the 99% guarantee, if it's applicable here, this quote-to-quote guarantee, would be able to immigrate to Canada, which is not exactly fair, simply because under other circumstances, without the job offer, this person would be placed at the end of the queue. Therefore, in order to facilitate immigration, which is based on human capital, based on language abilities, on age, on education, and on work experience, it is expected that the score and points awarded for the job offer would be significantly decreased. Probably why, right? So it would be fair for everybody. It would be fair for those people who have taken IELTS, right, who have retaken it over and over again to secure themselves higher score, and suddenly they still find themselves right now not able to pass, compared to those who somehow sneaked in with a job offer. So score for the job offer will be decreased. This is what is promised by federal government. So priority should be shifted, as it probably should have been shifted from the beginning, from those with a job offer, from those who have secured themselves a work position in Canada, to those with a good IELTS score, to those with a proper education and proper work experience abroad. Okay. Of course, this matter will also lead to overall decrease of the express entry cutoff score. Now, reasons for express entry cutoff score decrease. We slightly touched the base a couple minutes ago on that, but still, let me just go through that one by one. Following factors which have significant impact on express entry cutoff score. First and foremost, backlog by processing all applications. That would, of course, lead to the increase of express entry throughput. So what would happen if you already have, say, people from 2012 to 2014 applications cleared, which means all of the burden or major burden, if you put it this way, of immigration pressure would be put on express entry system, which will lead to the fact that more candidates would be selected, which will automatically mean that the score would go down. In fact, you might have seen it a couple days ago when the cutoff score has been decreased by about 10 points, which is low. I totally understand it, but it's still a good sign for us that this should be a good trend, a meaningful trend. Now, figures. You knew it already that express entry cutoff score dropped to 450 points. Candidates with 400 plus points, they also have good chances to be invited by the provinces. So therefore, 400 points is pretty much the human capital level that is deemed totally acceptable by most of the immigration authorities. That is at least a golden number, I would say, which you would probably have to go towards, right? So at least make sure that you got 390 to 400 points, which will secure yourself either a position in Ontario Provincial Nominee Program or give you more chances to participate in other program sessions, or will give you a reasonably good statistical chance to be selected by federal authorities when Express Entry System score goes down. When to expect it? Well, the above changes are expected to take place in 2017, at the end of 2016 or at the beginning of 2017. Hard to speculate. I mean, we could just play on the numbers in here, but again, statistically, it was expected to be October, November, which is not happening at this moment. I mean, there are signs that it would, but still it's not there yet. So I would say probably beginning of 2017, somewhere in the first weeks of spring, probably. Still, for those who did not hear me at the beginning of this presentation, guys, please, for God's sake, make sure that you got your Express Entry profile right now, this second, that you already have it. Otherwise, you might miss this opportunity. Because just imagine for a second what would happen the first week when Express Entry profile drops to, say, 400 points, right? Thousands of applicants would suddenly wake up and say, well, wait a second, if I apply right now, my score would be, I don't know, 410. Let me just apply. So the number of applicants increases, the score automatically goes up again. So not dramatically, but still enough to disappoint you or for a couple of months. So therefore, make sure that you get your profile ready. And other programs, of course, right? We could not forget about those as well. Businessmen and investors, or entrepreneurs and investors. Immigration programs for entrepreneurs and investors that were put on hold a few years ago will be officially terminated soon. Which, it does not mean that if you're an entrepreneur, you got to freak out. No, we're talking about federal programs. So provincial ones with a low passing requirements for the budget with the low money requirement, those would still be available. We're talking about federal ones. So federal entrepreneur, federal investor programs, they would be eliminated. Provincial programs for entrepreneurs, provincial programs for investors, they still remain open, and that's still a very, very good chance for those who are looking to immigrate under those, under these streams. New immigration programs for business people may be introduced to replace the canceled programs, but so far I've never heard any discussions of those. So entrepreneurs and investors, federal ones, would be eliminated. They do not work properly. The processing time is quite long. Provincial programs would still stay in place, so more focus would be on those. Semi-skilled workers or semi-qualified workers, certain NOC occupations, they would receive extra express entry points to facilitate immigration of semi-skilled workers. Simply because government is considering creation of new federal program, or I would say significant improvement of an existing federal program to give opportunity to immigrate to Canada several semi-skilled workers with certain occupations. Probably these occupations would be determined based on the labor market situation in Canada. There is no deemed list or determined list yet. It does not mean that if you're a semi-skilled worker with the NOCC, say, I don't know, you're a bricklayer, and that you would be allowed to enter Canada. No, it does not necessarily imply that, but certain occupations would be accepted and extra points would be given to them, again, just to reflect the needs of the labor market. Well, students, we spoke about them before. Like, it's officially recognized that foreign students in Canada are an excellent source of new immigrants, simply because they got good English or good French, they get Canadian education, the integration into Canadian society chance is quite high. They're young, so job perspectives are right there on the table. Therefore, immigration authorities would be looking at them and somehow facilitate their immigration as well. You probably have seen it in 2015. If you remember, there was a stream of selection under Express Entry System, which has been tailored specifically for Canadian experience class applicants, for those who have graduated and worked in Canada for at least 1 year. Therefore, it might be the way immigration authorities are looking at it. However, there would be options for students as well. So immigration for students would be improved and facilitated. Now, Quebec, well, you know that Quebec has reformed, or quote to quote reform, because it never works from the first attempt for them. This year, it was quite nasty because instead of a normal proper application, it was just chasing and clicking and pretty much matter of luck, which is not exactly how immigration programs should work. And Quebec probably would reform their intakes next year as well. This is what you might expect in the future. So the purpose of this webinar, I tried my very, very best to incorporate all the news and just deliver them within 20 plus minutes. Of course, it's not specific. It's very difficult to stop on each and every program and focus on them. So I tried my extreme best here. If you got questions, if you got comments, want to discuss it, look, mostly welcome to our channel, mostly welcome to drop us a line and ask questions. Our contacts are right here. If you're from Bangladesh, feel free to come to our local office. Extremely smart, extremely responsible people. Just make sure that you contact them directly. They would be absolutely glad to help. If you got personal questions, you want to contact me directly or discuss something with me, my contacts are right on the screen right now. And thank you all for participating. Sorry for the technical glitch in the beginning. It was totally nice to see the number of listeners here today. Thank you all. Stay tuned with us.